Welcome everybody back to the Writer's Parachute. We are guiding author and writer dreams to a perfect landing. Today we have with us a very special guest. We have Lisa Parsons. She is an author and conservation photographer, and we're going to be talking about her new book, Aftermath, Revenge in Lake Tahoe. It is book one of the Emergence series. But of course, always in the beginning, we have a little housekeeping to do. So of course, we want you to smash that like button, go ahead over there and hit the bell and subscribe and get notifications. And of course, we'd like for you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and now on TikTok at Writer Parachute. That's Writer Parachute with no S. So be sure to do that. Be sure to share the episodes and always come back every week for a new interview and an interesting topic. We're going to talk to many more authors coming up, and some that are not authors but are associated with writers and authors. So of course, we always have a topic for you to start the show off. And today we're going to talk about overused words. Overused words are a editor's nightmare, but I understand. It's the way we talk. We tend to fill in the ums and ahs with just, or that, or of, or something like that. So these are the overused words that we most see when we're reading books or where we're editing books or just writing. Everyone does it. I'm exactly like you. When I go back after reading my first or second draft, one of the things that I do is look for every that, of, and just in my entire manuscript and be very critical about whether or not they belong there. So we're going to talk a little bit about the three words, and we're going to add a few more words to it and talk about those. So first, we're going to talk about just, that, and of. These are comparative words, especially just and that. So it is comparison of just this versus just that. So if you are not comparing something, then you probably don't need it. Same thing with that. We mean this versus that, or that versus this. If you're not comparing things, again, most likely you do not need the that in the sentence. So what I challenge you to do is when you are reading through and checking your own work or your own manuscript, leave the word out of the sentence and see if it still works. I'm always surprised at how well they work without those qualifications. Of is one of those two. It's often used to give us more information about something we're describing. So a flock of birds. Now, unless we're writing a book about birds specifically, we don't really need to know that it's a flock of birds. Being birds plural would give us that kind of visual of more than one bird, which may be a flock, may not be a full flock, that sort of thing. So unless it's critical to the description or the scene that you're working in, the of may not necessarily need to be there either. So be very critical of those ofs that we have throughout our book. Also, so is a crutch word. Now they're all what I would call crutch words, but so is one of those kind of things that we use, like, so are you going to the store? Well, it's fine to say it that way, but when you're writing, it's a little distracting to your readers. So I think we can probably leave it out. Are you going to the store? So the last two I'm going to mention are the difference between the and a. I see this a lot as an editor, as a reader, and it is kind of one of those frustrating things that I think most people don't understand. Again, it is a comparison. So when you're using the, you're making a distinction of that particular whatever item it is. So if we're talking about a door, you're talking about the door. The door would mean this specific door in comparison to others. A door would mean just the only door in front of you, or a door that doesn't matter. So if you're in a hallway, you would need to know the door. If you're just opening random doors, then it's a door. So I hope that's helpful for you. And again, these are some of the tips and tricks that we like to offer for you guys to get a little more ahead and get your work a little tighter. Be meticulous when you're writing, and especially on those last few rewrites and revisions and self edits, we want to tighten it up and get it as clean and fluid as possible. So be critical of just that, of, so, and look at every the and a to make sure it is being used properly. So hope that helps you guys. So let's go ahead and get on with the show. Today we want to talk with Lisa Parsons. She is a author, new author, a conservation photographer, and her new book, Aftermath. It is a murder adventure. It is Revenge in Lake Tahoe, Emergence series, book number 1. Lisa is an adventure writer, conservation photographer, retired paramedic, world traveler, and adventure dog owner. Lisa weaves her multifaceted real-world experience into her writing. The writing and photographs have been published in newspapers, magazines, and blogs across the Pacific Northwest and the globe. Welcome to the Writer's Parachute. Lisa, how are you today?
Great, Donna. Thanks for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this.
All right. Well, we're so excited to talk to you today about this brand new book. I mean, this book has only been out for just a few weeks, so I'm excited that we get to kind of show it off here first. So I want to know what got you started in writing, specifically fiction, because I know you've been writing for a really long time, but what started you writing in fiction?
Well, I've always loved reading. And then I loved writing like short stories and poetry. But I've had this desire like my entire life to write fiction novels. And so I finally had that space in my life where I could really sit down and start writing.
All right. Well, we're glad that you did. I've been reading the book and I'm very excited. It is such a page turner. I just have to know who did it in the end, but I'm not going to give it away because I don't know yet. So I'm very excited about it. So why this particular genre and why are we calling it murder adventure? I've never heard that term before.
Well, let's see. So the story pretty much wrote itself. And I wanted to write the story as a fiction novel just because I would have license to tell it the way I want or direct it in the way I wanted to go. And then I wanted to write the murder mystery, but also tell a deeper story. And by using that genre, it gave me the ability to build a tension that really parallels sort of being a paramedic by creating these layers of stressors and tension within the plot.
Well, you did an amazing job because, like I said, I have to set a timer to make myself go to sleep at night while I'm reading this week. It's been a big page turner. So now, my understanding is that this book is based on some true events. So can you kind of share with us what sparked the inspiration for this particular book and series?
Well, it's a book of fiction, but I used my experiences to help guide the plot and the characters. I worked as a paramedic for years, pretty intense profession. And so I really wanted to tell a story from about a paramedic from a woman's point of view.
Right. Well, you do an amazing job. I really can feel the tension and the kind of push and pull that the character feels throughout the story where, she's trying to do well, but then she's being pushed back from, the men who think they can, do the job better or maybe a little afraid of women intruding in that profession, but also the public that sort of gives her not the credit that she deserves, and all of the constant trauma that the character has to deal with and try and just skate right over it. But sometimes that's not always possible. It's like I don't think a lot of people understand what witnessing trauma after trauma after trauma like that does to a person. So I know my takeaway so far from the book has been that I really do need to appreciate the emergency workers out there a little bit more. They are putting their lives on the line every single time they go out the door, and I think we forget that. I think we forget all of the nasty little jobs that they have to deal with on a, a day-to-day, hour-to-hour basis. So I know that that was kind of eye-opening for me, and I do appreciate that. So you also have a personal passion for the outdoor adventure, the hiking, the mountain biking, and things about that in nature, like the main character. So, how much of your personal life did you put into the story or influence the character in the story?
I used a lot of, my own personal experiences, and then also like Maya's character and some of the other characters were kind of a mix of people that I knew. So I would like to think of Maya as my better self in some ways, because I have that license to do that. And then as far as the outdoor adventure, I mean, one of my favorite places is Lake Tahoe, and I lived in South Lake Tahoe. So I mountain biked and hiked all over. So I use those actual mountain bike rides in my book.
Mhm.
And then I've also been out in the water sailing and paddleboarding and bring that into the mix.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I really do sort of capitalize. And then there's one section in the book where Maya actually goes over to the Western Sierra slope
Mhm.
and visits the South Fork of the American River. And I'm a whitewater boater, so I'm intimately familiar with that area.
Right. Well, and it is great. I mean, for those of you here in Northern California reading this book, and even if you're not in Northern California, this is an adventure in itself. I love the descriptions. I really felt like I was there alongside the main character, riding up and down those mountains, paddle boarding through Emerald Bay, and going over to the Tea House Island, and going into the Whitewater, and I mean, there's a part in there where you're at the Marshall State Park where they discovered gold. It's really kind of an adventure novel where you get to go see all of these places through the eyes of the character, and it's very revealing, and it's extraordinarily accurate. I mean, being from Northern California, I've been to these places. I can totally visualize it from what she's writing here in these characters. So I think that is just amazing, amazing. So the book Aftermath is part of a series. It's the Emergence series, and this is book one. So when do you think we can expect to get book two? And how many books do you plan to do in the series?
So my goal is to have book two out by the end of the year. And that book's going to take Maya back to the streets of the Pacific Northwest to deal with the growing threat of the militant right-wing militia group targeting first responders and others. And I wrote that in my first book. It's the opening part, but this was before January 6th. So it's become, I think, more relevant today.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah,
Well,
and then there's 3 books in the series, and then the next book's going to go back to adventure, and it's going to be features the Grand Canyon.
okay. So do we have titles for these books yet, or are we still just with working titles?
The second book's going to be called Ambush.
Ambush. Okay. So we need to look forward to Ambush. So, of course, if you are interested in Lisa's books, we're going to have the link to purchase her book in the show notes. We'll also have a link to her website, where I am quite certain she will have all kinds of information about the upcoming second book in the series, Ambush, and when that's expected to come out. So do go check the show notes for the purchase link for Aftermath. And of course, check out her website, maybe sign up for her newsletter so that you get a notification when Ambush comes out. I'm very excited. I can't wait to read that one. Okay. So you also have a blog and are an accomplished nature photographer. We'll talk about the blog here in a second. So can you tell us how you merged those two professions into an amazing book? Because I could see the photographer part of you, but I could also see the kind of like blogger that's on a regular basis talking about what they're doing every day. So that was kind of an interesting take on the way that you present this story. So I want to know how you were able to do that.
Well, I first did the conservation photography and the blog related to that.
Mhm.
and develop my skills. And then I've also been doing an adventure blog called Confluence Adventures, where we traveled across the country in our Sprinter van and mountain biked and did all kinds of adventures. And so I kind of brought that into the story because I really, the adventures and the place are as important as the other parts of the story. So I think that kind of helped me meld that together.
Right. Well, you did an amazing job. Like as I said, I have not wanted to put it down, and it's definitely a page turner. I really encourage you guys to go out and get your copy of Aftermath. So, now we're going to talk a little bit about why you're here on the Writer's Parachute, other than this amazing book. So, all authors and writers have some kind of obstacle or stumbling block. So, we want to know, what was your biggest hurdle, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I think trying to do it all myself was my biggest obstacle. I felt like writing the book was the easy part.
Right.
Then what came next? And I think after editing 8 times, I realized I needed an editor or two. So on my next book, I'm going to hire a developmental editor and a line and copy editor early on.
Mhm.
Yeah. And then I designed my own book cover, which because have some graphic arts background. But I would definitely hire a professional graphic artist to do it next time. It just will save me lots of time and it'll be, professionally done.
Right.
But then, sort of what I wanted to segue is that, the biggest challenge too was just not knowing what to do next. And I think that's where You and then Shut Up and Write really helped guide me to those next steps. And that I learned that having a mentor, a group of mentors, is key to making those good decisions around writing and publishing. And I think I would have, if I had started out with that, I would have saved myself a lot of time and effort.
Right, which is a very good point. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, Shut Up and Write is a national, international group that they have meetings online and in person, pretty much around the world at any time, day or night. There's not really any restrictions. You can go to Shut Up and Write website at shutupwrite.com, and or go to the Meetup app and check out the local ones, or set your distance to all and check out all of them around the world. Most of them are open to anyone who is interested in writing or wants to be serious about writing, and it's just a good support group for all writers at any stage. And we do try to help each other and support each other, which is very invaluable. And and also, not any one person knows everything. So, it's amazing to me how a group of writers can get together and solve pretty much any problem, because everybody knows a little bit about something. So, that's a very good point, and I do point that out. And and that is also very important. If you do not feel comfortable with the Shut Up and Write group, then find a mentor, find somebody else who either is an established writer or a published writer, or a local writer to you, and work together, because writing itself is a very lonely, isolating business. And I find that just being able to talk it out with somebody who understands the struggles and the complications of writing and publishing makes it so much easier than trying to spend half the time explaining to them what the problem is before you explain the problem. So, yeah, so that's a good, very good point, and I'm glad you did bring that up. So, I'm going to ask you some quick questions now about you. So, if you could talk to your younger self right now, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say I would start writing younger and keep a journal of experiences, and write. Just get it down on paper. Find your passion.
That's it. That's it. Finding your passion. That's it. And writing is like any other craft out there. We don't paint a master to piece the first time we set up a canvas and pick up a paintbrush. It takes time, it takes work, it takes trial and error. And I think you have that a lot with writing. Problem is everybody knows how to write, but actually applying the craft of writing, and knowing when you can step outside of the lines or color outside of the lines is critical. So, um, I think it's wise that everybody, start early and just keep working on that craft. So, all right. So, what advice would you give to any other new or upcoming authors and writers?
I would say find mentors, and use any educational resources that you can to increase your knowledge, and and then just write. Like you said, don't worry about getting it right. Just find your flow. I procrastinated writing a novel for years because I thought, I can't, do this. It's too intimidating. But then when I just started writing, it just flowed and I just let it take me where it wanted to go.
Mhm,
Um, and then the other important thing is write for fun. I joined a group called Writing for Fun.
mhm.
Once a week, I get together and we write to prompts for 15 minutes. And it's about enjoying the process of writing with
Right,
no objective. And that really like takes the stress out of it, versus when you're trying to write a book.
right.
Sometimes you can get stressed about, it should be this way.
Right. Well, and I have my own little idioms. It's like the first one that you mentioned is about, don't worry about all the steps. And I call it the Eva Knievel syndrome, where we've got people trying to jump the canyon in one fell swoop. It's like, and that, that's just gonna lead to failure and frustration. So yeah, sometimes just writing and just taking it step by step. And the other thing is writing for fun. You have to have passion. Passion is what is going to carry you through on those days when you just don't feel like it, or it's just not working, or it's you're just pulling those words out, one at a time, with a crane or something, from the depths of your soul. It's really it's important that you have that passion and that you have some fun and adventure in it. And it's like, for me, I know that I'll have ideas about books and I'll sit down and write them down, and that's the end of it. I mean, it wasn't a bad idea, but you know, I learned pretty quickly that I don't really have any passion for it. It's like, yeah, it would be an interesting story, but I don't really have any passion for writing it. But that's okay. Now I've got it cleared out of my head so more new ideas can pop in. So that's always very important. And I'm glad that you brought that up. So we talked about your book. So tell us about your blog.
Well, so my blog is I'm, blogging on, the book.
Mhm.
And also I'm going to be writing some blogs geared towards pre-hospital care providers and resources if they're having mental health issues. Um, just specifically for that. And then, just having fun with it. I've got some excerpts and, I'll have stories related to the book. One of the things that I'm going to add on there is basically sort of travel blog, like some of the trails that I wrote about in the book. Well, I'll have them written up and have links to trail maps and stuff so people can go. Because some of the feedback that I've heard is that, yeah, now I want to go out and go to those trails or go
Right.
hike that
Yes.
mountain. So, yeah.
I think that would be book. That would be great. I almost stumbled there. It's like I think that would be a great book for you to add as a side note. Is here's some of the great adventure places for the readers and stuff like that. That would be great. I know I would grab that. I mean, I'm not a great adventurer, and a lot of my adventures are in my head nowadays, but I would read it because I love experiencing those adventures even if I can't really do it in life. So that's always fun. And people are always constantly looking for new interesting things to do. So very good. So Aftermath, it is Revenge in Lake Tahoe, Emergence series book 1. And where can we get ourselves a copy of this amazing book?
So you can buy it on Amazon. I'm doing Kindle Unlimited for 3 months, so you can get the ebook there and print, or you can directly buy on, Kindle. And
Mhm.
then if you want to support local independent bookstores, it's also listed on indiebound.org, and I have links to both on my website, so you can take your choice.
All right, awesome. We like choices. We love choices. Okay. And then of course you're very active on social media. So where can we follow you and what is your handle? I know we're going to have all of this stuff in the show notes, but we do want to go ahead and let our listeners know.
So I don't have a single handle, which is probably, something smart, but I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Goodreads, all author, and TikTok.
All right.
So, and those are, you'll have links to them. I sent them to.
Yes, I do have the links to those. I think the majority of them are Lisa Parsons author.
Yeah.
So, but again, just check the show notes and we'll have links to all of her different social media. And of course, her website is lisaparsonsauthor.net. So again, we'll have that listed in the show notes. Also, we'll have a link to her blog if you'd like to go check that out. So I have just a few more questions for you. So do you have any upcoming events that they should know about?
I do. My first one is I'm doing a book launch party at Marco's Cafe, which is located in Lotus, California, this Sunday, July 20 or June 26th. And then the book launch is going to be from 5 to 6 p.m. And then after that, they have live music every Sunday. So you can come for the book launch and stay for food and music. And it's a great outdoor venue. So, COVID safe.
All right, awesome. And where exactly is Lotus? I'm not really familiar with the area.
So if you're from Sacramento, you head east on Highway 50. And then the easiest way is to take Highway 49.
Okay.
So it's just north of Highway 50.
Okay, awesome. Well, that should be fairly easy. So that's kind of in like the tour between Coloma and Placerville off of Highway 49. Is that about the area?
Coloma and Lotus are essentially this right together, side by side. And then
I've not heard it referred to as being Lotus.
it's actually its own little town, so to speak. And then I wanted to point out one thing is that the book launch, I had posted something on our local listserv about a location, and the owner of Marco's came back and said, "Hey, you can do it here." And I was like, that's perfect, because there's actually a scene in the book at Marco's Cafe.
Awesome. So wow. So go to the book launch and get a little slice of the book just for yourself to experience at Marco's Cafe, which is actually in the book. You could say you're not only reading the book, that you've been there to the scene of the crime, so to speak. So we're excited about that. So of course, if you'd like more information about her book launch, please go to her website at lisaparsonsauthor.net. And is there anything else that you would like to include before we go pull the ripcord on our tip of the week?
Just one others, that I'm going to have a book launch in South Lake Tahoe. Location's going to be set up for in the month of July, and that'll be on my website. And then I'm going to do an online launch date to still be determined.
Okay.
So and then if you want to sign up to get more information, you can do so on my website.
All right, awesome. Well, yes, please go do that. So she has the book launch coming this Sunday at DeMarco's Cafe in Lotus, California, and she has another one coming up in July in South Lake Tahoe, and then another one that's going to be online sometime soon. Date to be determined. So please check out her website to get updates on that, and do sign up for her newsletter so that you will be given updates on those as they are, the dates are assigned and places are assigned. So that will be very exciting. So we're very happy to have you. So I'm going to step aside and we're going to talk about our tip of the week. We're going to pull the ripcord on it. So now Lisa was talking about some of her issues with writing. And I always ask this of my guests before they come on here about what it is that they think that they struggled the most with. And I think for her, she said that it was mostly not knowing what to do. Writing was the easy part. It's all the stuff that came after. It's the publishing part. And what I want to say about that and about the tip of the week is Lisa has handled this extremely well. She has found other writers to mentor her. She has found other writing groups to help support her and get her the information that she needs. she also has learned that you do need professionals to help you to look professional, because what I do see often is new authors are trying to save money. And I do understand that you do need to be on a budget, but you need to be on a realistic budget, because I can tell you, I go to book festivals, I go to bookstores, and you can immediately tell um, the caliber of the book cover or the quality of the book based on whether or not a person used professional help or critique. Now, if you want to do it yourself, of course, Lisa did an amazing job, but she was also willing to take critique and criticism from other people about how it should look, what should be on it, what should be included. And that's really important. And another thing I will tell you about book covers is often people don't realize it, that most time they are sold, books are sold online now, more so than in bookstores. It's just a progression of life these days. Most things are done online. So when you're selling your book online, the cover is often reduced to a thumbnail, which is very small. It's about the size of a postage stamp. So when you reduce your cover down to that size, a lot of the extraneous details kind of get lost. And this is one of the telltale signs that I see often in non-professional book covers, is the extraordinary details that are put in there. Now, while they're amazing when you see the book in its full glory in print, they don't really come across when they're being sold online, and that's a huge portion of your market. So that's something to think about. But I want to recap that, Lisa did an amazing job by finding help, by finding the answers, getting mentors and authors around her, and being willing to accept the critique, the criticism, and the suggestions made by other authors and support personnel around her, by hiring professionals to help her with editing. And she's learned that here now with her second book that she's going to employ them a little bit earlier. So I think this is something that we all need to think about. If you are a new author or new writer and you have not reached this step, if you're just working on setting up your process of what you're going to write, how you're going to publish it and stuff like that, really think about all the steps that you're going to need to make and how much it's going to cost you and how much you're willing to invest. Because while it can be expensive, there are many ways to get the work done that you need done. It's like bartering is still an active way of getting the things that you need. So sometimes we have skills that other people could use. So don't forget bartering as part of your budgeting process. All right. Well, I don't really have too much else to say today. We are so glad that Lisa Parsons was able to join us again. Her book is Aftermath. It's a murder adventure, the Revenge and Lake Tahoe Emergence book series #1. And we can't wait for the second one in the series to come later this year, towards the end of the year, called Ambush. We'll love to have Lisa come back when that book is out, and we'll talk to her a little bit more about her second book. But until next time, I hope you guys have an amazing time. And thank you, Lisa, for being here. Did you have anything else you'd like to tell them before we go ahead and go on with our day?
Just thank you, Donna, for inviting me. It's been a really painless process, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, I look forward to doing it again.
All right. Well, that's what I try to do. Just make it a conversation with us about books and writing. And that's always the fun part. So this is the end for us here on this episode of the Writer's Parachute. And as always, we hope all your writing and author dreams land well. Until next time, bye.